quite a number of students that are interested and have a career ambition in terms of either primary or post-primary teaching. So it's always very valuable for them to understand the different routes in addition to what we have here in Ireland with regard to Northern Ireland and also over in the UK, as that's a route many students take in terms of becoming fully qualified teachers. All right, so I might hand over to you now, Fiona, and we can then take questions at the end.
Absolutely perfect. That's exactly it. So yeah, I'll go through the slides. So we're going to deal with the kind of various different application systems, talk to you a bit about kind of entry requirements, kind of the fees, the funding side of things as well. And then, yeah, as we say, questions at the end, and then I'll give you my email address again as well, just in case anybody wants to follow up with me privately afterwards as well.
Perfect. Thank you.
Perfect. Right. So yes, I'm going to give you a kind of a broad overview. So I'm talking to you mainly about PGC programs that are available across the water in mainland UK. And that's simply because there's so many available. Okay, so it's a postgraduate certificate in education we're talking about. Sometimes you might see it referred to as a PGDE. So just instead of certificate of education, it's a diploma in education. And you'll often find that with the Scottish universities. But essentially, it's exactly the same qualification, has the 60 credits, the same as the PGCE does as well. So it's just really a difference in terminology there. In terms of what's available then, they're normally split into 3 separate PGCs. So you'll have your early years PGCE, which is for those of you who are interested in teaching the younger kind of foundation stages. So that will be from 3 to 7-year-olds. You'll then find the primary PGC advertised, which covers that full age range of primary, so from 5 till 11. And then you'll have your secondary PGCs, okay? So they're covering the age groups of 11 to 18, and they will obviously be subject specific as well. And we'll talk about that a bit more in a few slides' time. Okay, in terms of the length of the programme then, it's a 1-year full-time degree, but essentially it's an academic year. So it'll normally run from the likes of kind of late August, early September time, right through until the end of June. So essentially really 9 months there. You can do it part-time if you wish. So say, for example, you just kind of want to do it at a slower pace, or maybe you want to have a bit of money coming in alongside it as well. You can do it part-time, and that way, instead of it being a 1-year program, it rolls out to a 2-year program. Now, in terms of key dates then for this would be for people who are hoping to start in 2026, okay? So there are 2 separate applications here on the screen you'll see. So the UCAS application is how you would apply to the Scottish and the Welsh universities, okay? And then the English universities use a separate application. So you'll see there, UCAS applications for the Scottish and Welsh universities. The application is open, so you can apply anytime now for September 2026, but there is a deadline for those Scottish and Welsh universities, and that is the 14th of January. Okay, now if you're hoping to apply for the English universities, about 4 or 5 years ago, they've kind of set themselves apart into a separate application through the gov.uk website. And again, applications for September 2026 with that process are open. They opened up there on the 7th of October. Now, there is no deadline for the English universities. So while some people see that as really advantageous, you do need to be careful because universities can close at any time. You just don't know when they're going to close. So essentially, once they have enough applications or enough applicants, they can close at any point. So, you know, I would always say just kind of err on the side of caution there. And I would certainly try and have your application in the next few weeks, kind of this side of Christmas, if you possibly can, just to give yourself the best possible chance, because there will be some of the more popular universities and some of the more popular courses that will start to fill up around now. So as I said to you, you know, it is just a wee bit risky in the sense that you just don't know when they're going to close. Now, in terms of the event requirements then, for any PGC, you will always be required to have English and Maths at GCSE grade C or equivalent, okay? So most universities would see that as a Leaving Cert 04. Some universities you might get away with an 05, but I always kind of say err on the side of caution again, and a lot of them will specify that 04. If you're hoping to do the primary or the early years, you also need to have a science qualification at that level as well. So English, Maths and Science for primary and early years. I need to have that English and Maths for the secondary PGCE, okay? After that, then they will require you to have an honours degree. Okay. Now, different universities will have different stipulations around them, but the majority of them will take a 2-2 or above. Okay. If you're wanting to do primary or early years PGC, it is quite open. It doesn't actually really matter what your degree in or what your discipline is in, so it can be really good and useful. Now, if you're hoping to go down the secondary PGC, the general rule of thumb there is that your degree should be at least 50% relevant as to the course that you're wanting to do the PGC in. So say, for example, you're wanting to do a PGC in English and you have done a joint honours in English and drama. As long as your course is at least 50% English based, then that's absolutely fine. You'll also see there basic ICT knowledge. Again, generally not an issue with anybody nowadays. In terms of experience, again, it varies a wee bit. Generally speaking, they would ask that you have between 5 and 10 days classroom experience if possible. Now, you don't have to have it anymore. They used to be quite strict on this and they have lessened on this a bit. But it's like anything, the more experience you have, the better your application is going to be. It'll give you something to write about in your personal statement, and it gives you something to talk about and expand upon at interview as well. And even more than that as well, if you haven't tried and tested, it's quite difficult to know that it is going to be something that's right for you. It's going to be something that you're going to really enjoy. So we would always recommend, where possible, to try and build up some school-based classroom experience before you apply, just to make sure it is the right path for you. So it's one of the most popular routes into teaching. It's very worldwide recognised as well. So again, if any of you want to travel with this qualification, you know, it is very well accepted throughout the world. Now, across the water in the likes of England, Scotland and Wales, the tuition fee for the PGCE is £9,535 next year. Okay. Now, it is one of the postgraduate qualifications that does allow you to get the student loan. So again, it's not a case of you have to have this money up front. Hopefully you will be able to avail of the tuition fee loan that is paid directly to the university on your behalf. Now, as the name suggests, it is a loan. You will need to eventually repay that, but not until you've graduated, and you need to have a full-time permanent job where you're earning over £25,000. Once you start to hit that threshold, you will then start to repay the loans. Okay. And you'll see there as well, I've listed on the slide that there's a number of bursaries available as well with the English universities, which I'm going to talk about a bit more in the next couple of slides. So just with regards to those student loans, as I said to you, they are available for the PGC, which is great news. Hopefully that'll mean that you don't need to worry about the kind of the funding side of things initially. As I said to you, you do start to repay it once you earn over the £25,000. But actually, it is a really good system. The way it's set up, it's very affordable. So what you pay back is just 9% of what you earn over that £25,000 threshold. So somebody, for example, who starts on maybe £28,000, you will pay 9% of that £3,000 over the course of the year. So you might start off paying something like 50, 60, 70 pounds a month out of your salary. So it is a small amount of your salary, and it is done very gradually. And you can pay this loan off over 5, 10, 15, 20 years, however long it takes. If you haven't fully repaid the loan at the end of 30 years, they wipe any debt that's remaining as well. Okay, so the good news is that the funding is in place to at least get you onto the programme, get you qualified, and then hopefully into the career of teaching. Okay, so just a bit of information around scholarships and bursaries. You will find that the best, or the, I suppose the best scholarships you'll find will be offered at the English universities. They will be offered for subjects that they're seen as shortage subjects. So these are areas that they are finding it a wee bit more difficult to recruit for. So you'll see them listed on the slide there. So that's the bursaries for September 2026. Now, they do change every single year. So if it's not next September, you're wanting to do the teaching, it's maybe the year after, you know, do check each year, because they do change in and around kind of October time. But certainly for the 2026-27 year, you'll see there, if you're thinking about doing a PGCE in chemistry, computing, maths or physics, they're getting the really good, really generous bursaries there of £29,000. If you're interested in doing a PGCE in design and technology or languages, there is a bursary of £20,000 available. And if you're hoping to do one in either biology or geography, there's a £5,000 bursary available. So again, some really generous bursaries available. Unfortunately, if you are thinking about any other subjects outside of those ones, there's currently no bursaries for this year. But hopefully, if some of you fall within those categories, that can just make things that wee bit easier financially on you next year. And those bursaries, they're not means tested, they are guaranteed once you get a place on the programme with the English universities. So hopefully that will be an advantage to many of you. Okay, so we talked briefly there just with regards to the application process. And I know some of you might be interested in Northern Ireland, so we'll cover that in a moment as well. But yes, as we said, two separate applications really we're looking at here for mainland UK. So the UCAS application for Scotland and Wales, and then the gov.uk application for England. They're both save and return applications, so go on, get yourself registered, get your password, and you just fill it in as and when you have time to do so. Both applications are relatively straightforward. Once you've done one, you should be able to use a lot of the similar information and just kind of copy and paste it onto the other application. And absolutely no reason why you wouldn't have both applications in at the same time. And by doing that, you're just really keeping your options open, okay? So the applications, as I said, are relatively straightforward, but they both will require a personal statement. So this is the one thing that's going to take a bit of time to perfect and to get right, okay? But as I said to you, once you've done one, you should be able to use a lot of the similar information. So with the personal statement now, they changed it as of last year. So you now have to answer 3 questions as part of the personal statement, okay? So these are, why do you want to study this PGC? Why do you want to do this teaching qualification? They will then ask you, how have your qualities and your qualifications and your studies helped prepare you for this qualification? And what else have you done outside of education that you think has prepared you for the qualification, and why do you think that will be useful as well? So it kind of breaks down into 3 separate questions there. Now, with the gov.uk application, you have up to 1,000 words to write with your personal statement. And for the UCAS application, then you have 47 lines, 4,000 characters. Okay, so again, plenty of space to cover those 3 questions. And they would always recommend you put down at least 800 words just to make sure you're selling yourself to the best of your ability. Okay. Now, with the applications, you have 4 choices through the English application through gov.uk, and you will have 5 choices through the UCAS application for Scotland and Wales. So essentially there, with the 2 applications, you're giving yourself 9 different options and opportunities there for PGCs and for different universities as well. You don't put them in order of preference, you just simply put down your choices, and the application system will send out simultaneously to all 4 or all 5 of your universities at the same time. Universities across the water are generally very quick to come back to you, so you'll normally find out quite quickly how things are going. So you will normally hear within a month or so whether or not you're being invited to interview and to the next stage of the process. And again, once those interviews take place, generally you should know within a few days, maybe maximum a week, whether or not you've been successful. So all works very, very quick, which I know can be really good as well. As I said to you, with the English applications, there are no deadlines, so we can really apply right into next year. But as and when the courses fill, you will see less courses becoming available through the gov.uk website. Really important part of your application as well is around references and referees. So again, you will need to put down 2 references as part of the applications for both of these systems. It is recommended that one of your references would be an academic reference, so somebody from university, and generally your second referee ideally will be somebody from a school-based setting, okay? So maybe a school that you've done some work experience in, and that would be ideal. If you haven't got that relationship with somebody in a school, then somebody from a job, whether that be a part-time job or a full-time job, it doesn't really matter, but somebody who knows you within that working capacity would be best if you can't get somebody from a school-based setting. But again, really important just to let them know that you have put them down as referees because the UCAS or gov.uk will be getting in touch with them. And again, they normally have only about 10 days to reply with the references. So again, you just want to make sure that they know those emails are coming and that they act quickly as well, just to make sure that your application goes as quickly as possible. Right, so with regards to the personal statement, we have a bit of information here on the slides, but actually there's an awful lot of help and support online through both the UCAS website and the gov.uk website. And because they have changed it recently and they're now asking 3 specific questions, again, they have put an awful lot of help and support on there as well. But essentially you'll see here on the slides exactly what they're wanting to see and read. So they want to know, why are you wanting to do this PGC, this teaching programme? Where has this enthusiasm and passion for teaching come from? What experience do you have to date? So, have you been out in school? Where did you go? What did you learn? What age groups were you dealing with? What did you get involved with? And they very much want to see a passion and enthusiasm to come across if you're interested and you're wanting to do those secondary PGCs as well, because they want to make sure that you're able to pass this on to your students in the future. Personal qualities are obviously very, very important as well. So again, you're looking for those kind of buzzwords, the reasons why you're going to be a good teacher, what's going to make you a good teacher, okay? And you'll see some of the buzzwords there, like good organizational skills, good listening skills, good time management, you're creative, thinking outside the box, that type of thing. And again, they're also wanting to set, get an idea of you as a person as well. So any volunteer work, any charity work, any sports clubs, societies you're involved with, again, all really important to set about a bit of a picture as the type of person you are. But again, just make it as relevant as possible to the skills and attributes that are required to a career in teaching as well. So personal statements, really, really important part of your application, okay? In terms of interviews then, so all of the PGCs and PGD programs in the UK will be interview based, okay? Now, whether or not these are in person or whether they're done online, it will vary from university to universities, okay? But it's not a case of, with the likes of a lot of the UK universities, it won't just be, that kind of question and answer session. Quite often it is more of a half day or a full day type affair. Okay, so for early years in primary, you could expect to be at the university for the full day, and for secondary, quite often half a day. Okay, and different universities will use different methods in terms of the interview. So a lot of them will have kind of group discussions. So they'll talk about educational topics, and they'll just want to see how you interact with your peers and how you communicate and get your point across. Some of them may ask you to do a basic literacy and numeracy test. Sometimes you might be asked to do a short 5-minute presentation, and then obviously then you'll have that kind of one-to-one interview question answer session as well. Now, the universities are generally really good. They're not there to catch you out. They will normally give you lots of advance warning in terms of when the interview is going to take place and also what's going to happen on the day as well. That will normally be all given to you in an email or letter. And if it's not, again, it's just really important to be proactive, to pick up the phone or send an email and say, look, I'm coming over for interview next week. Can you give me a bit more information as to how the day is going to pan out, okay? And again, that just allows you to plan and prepare and get yourself as organised as possible as well, okay? So in terms of what the interviews are looking for, is we kind of put the 6 key areas there. So they're looking for a commitment to and an understanding of either primary or secondary education, depending on what you're applying for, and the role of a teacher. They're looking for really good personal, intellectual and communication skills, positive attitude towards children and working with young people. They're looking for passion, knowledge and confidence, an enthusiasm for and understanding of your subject and teaching in general, and then clear and accurate spoken English. Okay, so that's the 6 kind of key criteria and key areas that you will be assessed on at interview. Once interviews take place, then as I said to you, it's all quite fast moving with the UK universities. You will normally hear back within a couple of days whether or not you've been successful. The vast majority of people will receive what's called a conditional offer. Okay, so normally what it'll say is, like, as long as you get your 2-2, come summer exam time, we will give you a place on our programme. or maybe if you haven't got maybe that English qualification or science qualification at GCSE level and you're sitting an exam, again, that's absolutely fine if you haven't passed it and got it just yet, but they will give you a conditional offer based on the fact that this is sat and passed by the time you can commence the programme next September. And you will be notified by both the university and the application system that you've applied through as well. Okay. Right, I'm just going to share with you before we finish up and take questions as well, because I know there's quite a lot of information there around the kind of English, Scottish and Welsh universities, but this is another option as well. Now, it is quite a new option, and it is something that would require a bit of extra thought, and just really, I suppose, checking out with the Teaching Council. So this is, again, it's a PGC, which is offered through the University of Coventry, one of the English universities, but it's actually an online PGCE, and it allows you to do your training based in a school, so you don't have to relocate or move away with this qualification. Okay. Now, it is a one-year programme, the same as the others. Because the learning is done online, it is slightly cheaper than the mainland UK one, so it's coming in at the 7,950. Okay. They have flexible start dates as well, which can be an advantage for many. So they have a start date in September. They then have another one in January and their last one then in April each year. So it's a bit of a rolling PGC as well. It is a separate application. You apply directly to the university through NIUK and their online application system. And they will consider all degree classifications as well. So quite open from that point of view. And they offer the primary and the secondary PGCs as well. Now, this has been very popular since it launched in Northern Ireland in September 2023, because it has got the go-ahead from the Teaching Council in Northern Ireland. But certainly in Ireland, it's a bit of a longer process here, and they're actually just trying to get a few of the students through the Irish Teaching Council's registration at the moment. So as I said to you, it will require a bit more thought and consideration, and I would certainly recommend you speak to the Teaching Council about the programme before joining it. But again, it's a really good option, an alternative for those of you who maybe it's just maybe not going to be as easy to move away and to relocate, maybe for family reasons or mortgage reasons, you prefer to stay at home, then this might be an option for you as well. And I've just listed for you below there the website. So they do information webinars each month, which will give you a bit more information on that. So again, a third and final option for you there. And if anybody wants any further information, I can send you on some documentation. So just pop me through an email after, and I can share a bit more information on that. Okay. And I'm just going to talk, if that's okay, briefly, Claire, just about the Northern Irish University, because I know that was part of the title
absolutely. Our students are always very interested in those options.
Yeah. Perfect. So as you can probably tell, I'm based actually in Northern Ireland. The universities that I work for are all mainland UK, so they're English, Scottish and Welsh universities. And that's simply because there's an awful lot more over there. There's an awful lot more places, so they're not quite as competitive. In Northern Ireland, you've got University of Ulster and you've got Queen's University, who offer the PGC programmes. Now, there's just the two universities, and they are quite limited in terms of the places they have. So generally speaking, they are quite competitive. But again, like anything, I would just apply for as many different options as I possibly could, and certainly keep your options open. So the PGCs in here in Northern Ireland, again, are 1 year full-time courses. The fees are in and around that kind of £5,000. So again, financially, a really good option, from a cost point of view. Now, it depends on what type of PGC you're wanting to do. So if it's a primary PGC, that is offered at the University of Ulster in Coleraine. Now, they have early deadlines. So for that course, it did close on the 31st of October. So for anybody who's thinking about primary, it would be for the following year at this stage. They also offer secondary PGCs in art, English, geography, history, home economics, music, PE, and design and technology. Okay, they are all offered at the University of Ulster in Coleraine. So for primary, their deadline is the 31st of October, and for secondary, their deadline is the 17th of November. Okay, so things do work quite quickly with those ones. Queen's University then, they have just the secondary PGCs, okay? And their subject areas are English, modern foreign languages, RE, biology, social sciences, ICT, maths, chemistry, physics, and they have a new program there in digital skills and creative technologies. Okay, so they're all offered through Queen's University, and they're just checking their deadline there. I believe the deadline for English, Modern Foreign Languages, RE, Biology and Social Science was the 1st of November. So again, it's closed for 2026. But ICT, Maths, Chemistry, Physics and the new Digital Skills and Creative Technologies deadline isn't until the 31st of January. Okay, so things are still open for a few, again, of their what they see as shortlisted subjects. So those that maybe don't have as many applications, they have a bit of a longer lead time there for the deadlines.
Fiona, do you have slides regarding those? Oh, okay, sorry.
Oh, right, no, I was just going to say, do you know what? Because I don't normally deal with the Northern Irish universities, obviously because they're so popular. They don't need any help with their recruitment.
No
So
worries.
no, do you know what? I just have a note of that because I knew you would want me to kind of cover the Northern Irish University, so I can send that information on to you by email if that suits.
Super. Yeah, that'd be amazing.
Or I can actually, I can add a slide in. What I'll do is I'll add a slide in after this, and then I'll send it on to you as well. Great. Okay. But yeah, as I said to you, the universities that we work with who are really keen to attract more students from Ireland will be the likes of the English, Scottish, and the Welsh universities. And if anybody wants any information about any particular universities, or particular programs, feel free just to pop me through an email, and I can certainly try my best to help you out. So it's fiona@erandm.co.uk.
Super. Thank you so much, Fiona.
No, I know it's an awful lot of information because I'm trying to cover all the different jurisdictions.
Yeah, no, but it's excellent to have it, and you are a wealth of information on this topic in terms of teaching pathways in the UK. So thank you for that detailed presentation. Just wanted to open up to students if there's any questions at all. Fiona's happy to answer.
Absolutely.
I just have perhaps one just to kick us off, Fiona. That night program is very interesting, and I know it's quite new, relatively new. I think it's 2 years up and running in Ireland.
Yeah.
So the issue, and I know that when I speak to students about it, we're still not sure if the Irish Teaching Council fully recognises that. I know that the Northern Ireland Teaching Council, the equivalent, does, and if you're wanting to teach up in the north of Ireland, that's fine. But the fact it is fully online, I'm not sure where are we at? Are we seeing students from the Republic of Ireland actively in that now at the moment? How are they going?
Things are definitely starting to move there. So yes, certainly in Northern Ireland. So if you're living kind of in the border and you want to kind of do your placement in the Northern Irish school, all guns ahead there, no problem at all. I suppose there's been hopefully a wee bit more movement there just with the new legislation but from the Teaching Council around the induction. So I suppose the issue with the night programme was always around the induction, and how would you be able to complete that induction in Ireland if you've done a UK qualification as such. So obviously the new legislation has, I suppose lessened things there just in terms of the induction. So hopefully for students certainly starting that programme within the next year or so, they'll fall within that time frame. So I think they've given until December 2027 at the moment. To allow you to do your induction in Ireland. So obviously that's going to free things up a bit more. The first student, as far as I know, the first student is actually being registered with the Teaching Council in Ireland on that night programme at the moment. Now, they have to do something to do with obviously their primary PGC, so the language requirement for Irish. They have there's something there that
the history and education of Irish education perhaps as well.
So they need to, I think, finish that qualification, and once that's done, they're hoping to get full registration. So what I would say is I always say to people, err on the side of caution at the moment, but watch this space. I think things are definitely moving, and we will definitely know within the next couple of months whether or not this new legislation from the Teaching Council around induction will mean that this qualification will be recognised, certainly for the foreseeable future.
Right.
So certainly by the time September starts to come round, we'll all be very well aware of whether or not it's going to be an option. And I mean, the deadline to apply for September with the night programme isn't until kind of late May time. So again, there's still plenty of time just to kind of ensure everything's everything's above board there.
Good. Okay. We're just at time, but we might have time for one more question. Just as Aoife in the chat saying, do you have any information on the primary PGCE for Liverpool, John Moores? That's a very popular university, isn't it?
Yep, you'll find kind of the Liverpool universities tend to be the most popular for students from north and south, you know. So you have Liverpool Hope, you have Liverpool John Moores and Edge Hill. Those would be the three Liverpool unis that would be the most popular, and they offer primary and secondary PGCs. But yeah, I do some work alongside John Moores. So yeah, if she wants to email me anything specifically about that program, feel free to do so. The Liverpool unis, because I think they're so accessible, they do tend to be, and they're probably the most well known as well, they do tend to be quite popular. So the Liverpool unis would be the ones that I would say try and get your application in this side of Christmas, because you know they will tend to get more applications than say maybe the London universities or the Southern English universities, you know. So yeah, my main piece of advice would be, if you are thinking about any of those Liverpool unis, you know, do try and get your application in now in the next few weeks. A lot of them are now doing interviews online. So again, for a lot of them, you don't have to travel over, which is good too. And again, that might speed up the whole process as well.
Super. All right. I think that's it. So thank you so much. Thank you for your time again, Fiona. You're always very supportive at this time of year.
No problem at all. And I say,
any further questions, we can contact you directly, and students, you're happy for them to reach out to you directly also, yeah?
Absolutely. And I will add in a slide just about the Northern Irish details. Just say I don't work with any uni, so I'm just kind of passing on
just a broad overview. Lovely.
But yeah, I'll give you a broad overview. I'll update the presentation and I'll send it on to you this afternoon.
Lovely. That's brilliant. Thank you so much. Thanks everyone for joining. Take care.
Yeah, thanks now. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.